What up, y'all? It's your boy Warbucks, and you are now tuned into the real review. And I'm fresh out the theater of seeing the movie Master of the Universe. Whew, okay, so man, what a movie! I mean, really enjoyed this movie. The action, uh the heroicness of it. I mean, man, I didn't think that when I came to this movie today, the first movie I saw, I was not gonna enjoy it as much and really love the second movie. I thought it might have been the other way around, but man, movies surprise you. I'm glad I came up here and gave this movie a shot in the theaters. I really am. Um, so uh Shoot, where do I start? Well, shoot, let's just get into the movie, man. The first of all, yo, the movie starts off with a guy narrating the story, and when you hear his voice, you assume that this is our main character telling his story. And so, he starts off describing this place, but the way he's telling the story, um, the picture he's painting, he's talking as if he didn't come from that world. That's something you really got to pay attention to is the little details because he's talking like us, like a person from America or the United States or, the earth as we know it. But then he's telling us a story about a fantastic place that's unbelievable. And he starts off saying how this place is real. And so, but we see this world and then we see this kid talking to his mom and he's the kid. And as the story progresses, we find that, he he doesn't want to go do his defense. He wants to sit down and play with his talking yellow tiger or green tiger, whatever color this tiger is. And so, mind you, I don't know nothing about the He-Man or story at all. So, like, all this is just fascinating to me. I'm like, I'm in this whole new world of this guy. And the good thing is, because I said this before I saw the movie, that it looked a lot like Thor. It is nothing like Thor. So that off top made me enjoy this movie. Because at the beginning, I was looking at it, I was like, yo, is this gonna be like Thor? It's already got Idris Elba in it. And so, but yeah, so his mom makes him go practice so he can get better because the tiger pretty much just says he's the worst kid in class. He's weak. He lacks in hand-eye coordination or whatever. And so he goes and he basically goes into fight. And when you look at him and all the kids, he is the smallest kid out of the bunch of kids. He is, just a tiny little kid. And so, honestly, I can kind of relate to this kid, man. I've always kind of felt like I've been the underdog uh, my whole life and maybe felt like I was a late bloomer. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this character really spoke to me. The more you watch the movie, I really connected with this character, this main character. And so, but anyway, so he um he goes out, you see he's the smallest kid in the bunch, and the guy that's training the kids is Idris Elba's character. Idris Elba is like the Secretary of Defense of the king of this land, and he is the son of the king of this land. So, yeah, so then he basically goes out, you see him training, but he's just like playing around. He's not even taking it serious. He has this girl that's like his best friend. She's bigger than him. Everybody's bigger than him. He's like this little small, little puny kid. And you know, Idris Elba seems like a good leader. You know what I'm saying? And he breaks down how he protected their parents and the parents before them. And he's like this great warrior. That's kind of how he's selling himself to these kids. And I mean, if he's training the future warriors of the world, then yeah. he would be that guy. And so I'm I'm pretty sure like there's this lore that there's a chosen one that's supposed to yield this sword that is like in this place in their home. And our main character is the prince or the king, so he is the heir to that. That's the lore. Very similar to King Arthur with the sword and the stone story. Very similar. And later on in the movie, they actually joke that there's a joke with a cop. She says it, and so which is really really dope. There's also a joke later on in the movie of Highlander, and if you know Highlander, you know. There's a connection all this to He-Man and this sword, and so similar sword premise as the hammer to Thor, but whole different story. Not quite. I mean, Thor is kind of like heir to the hammer of his throne, but the way this movie tells it, it's its own lore, it's its own story. It's not the same. So yeah, so his dad pretty much embarrasses him. He comes in, talks to Idris Elba, then he sees his son over there playing around, and he just goes in and pretty much embarrasses him in front of all the kids by fighting him with a sword and knocking him on the ground, trying to get him to understand that the world is a dangerous place and he wants him to stand up and be a man and protect himself. But he is just a kid, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it does feel like a lot of other kids seem a little bit more, I don't know, I guess, taking it more serious than he is. And so, anyway, after he gets embarrassed, he kind of goes out and has a little moment to himself, to reflect, a lot of self-doubt. And then the girl, his best friend, shows up, tries to comfort him, kind of give him, just be there for him in this time. And she tells him, I don't believe you're being a coward or anything. And so, but my dad was, is what he says. And so, he, after this, I believe like some villains show up and start shooting up the castle. And when they do that, they end up like basically like an all-out war on the castle. They coming for the throne. They about to take over. So he is basically like, man, he's the kids get with their parents, get the safety. And then we kind of see Idris Elba and the king of the castle. We see the kids, the wife, the mom of our main character, and Idris. Bruh, we get to see him shine. Like, we get to see why he was talking that mess, because he goes ham and just starts tearing through all these guys by himself. And he tells the king, like, I'm gonna make sure nothing happens to you or your family. They'll all be safe. And so, but then he gets into it with this big bad, this green-faced dude with this hook arm. And so when they get into it, they have a little fight. He's kind of winning at first, but in the very end, the green guy blasts him out and tells him, you have failed. The movie's kind of like, the tone of it is very heroic, corny-like, but that's the whole thing. It's a fantastical movie. It's supposed to be superhero corny. Like, this is not no realistic Dark Knight trilogy. This is really not that type of vibe. This is more of a fantastical, like, heroic type movie. So the theme, the dialogue, the presence of it is, you're supposed to feel that when you watch this movie. And so we get this dope action scene. He loses. The mom grabs the son and runs. There's weird moments in this movie where they're just kind of just letting people just get away. They're not even trying to stop them, trying to get the sword. Like it's, I just remember thinking in certain parts of this movie, they're just standing there. I'm just like, okay, but I guess that is maybe how it was in the original thing, and maybe that's just a part of it. And this is like a fun type like family movie. You could bring your family to go see this movie. Is that type of vibe. Bring your kids, bring your wives. It is that type of movie. Even the villain Skeletor is very comical. He shows up, has his funny laughing moment where he gives this speech, and there's like this awkwardness about it. It's just like everybody, we're in a comical, fun world where action and serious things can happen. That's the type of world that's being painted in this movie. And so the main character and his mom, the king gets caught by Skeletor and his people, and he tries to fight, and he actually puts up a really great fight, beats a lot of the men, but ultimately he loses. You know what I'm saying? Skeletor gets him. I'm thinking I'm thinking they're gonna kill him, but they don't. They kind of just keep him there and hold him with swords to his neck, and he tries as hard to get the Skeletor with his sword, but he can't. So, but what ends up happening ultimately is the mom and the son run all the way to get the sword. There's a woman that protects the sword, and so she stands there and she's like protecting the sword. It's like her job to make sure that the right person, the person who deserves the sword, ends up with it. So she's standing over there protecting the sword, and a portal is opened up by this woman, and the mom, she tries to stand there and fight to protect her son, and she gets blasted up. And then the powerful woman who protects the sword, she uses all of her power to shield the blast from Skeletor's sword, while the son grabs the sword and jumps through the little portal and he shoots through it. The lady who's protecting the sword, she can turn to like a bird, so she just flies off. And so, but our main character, he goes through this portal and we see him fly through the portal, and he loses the sword within the portal. He drops the sword. They both get sent to the same place, but it gets sent to a separate place because he couldn't hold it. Uh, and so, yeah, so, um, and then we find out that this is the story he's telling a woman on their first date, which is crazy. And so she's looking at him and she decides, okay, I need to answer my phone. And then she's like, but it didn't even ring. She was like, yeah, I need to answer my phone and leave. You know what I'm saying? She's blatantly like, I'm out of here. Like, you are tripping. And then he stops her to clarify and paint this picture of the water being poured into a glass to represent the sword. And so the movie has light humor in it early on in the movie. That's haha funny. It's not like hilarious, but it's entertaining enough of an intro into the movie. And I find myself chuckling at the beginning. And so he goes home to his apartment, and they don't really explain the story of how a child just ends up on Earth by himself and somehow is has a roommate, like a college dorm type roommate situation. They don't really explain that. I didn't understand. I was kind of curious, like, where are you this whole time? He's been on Earth, I think, like 15 years. And that explains why when he tells the story, he tells it like he's one of us, because he's spent a large quantity of his life growing up here, even though he was born there and lived a good portion of his life there. They show flashbacks of a little bit of him being in school and all the kids laughing at him about his drawings and his drawings of the people that he know that are real, and he talks to everybody like they're real. Like, this is historic characters. There's even a funny scene where before he comes home, his roommate is sitting in the room and he's like crying watching a love movie talking about some, but they were supposed to be together. It's good light humor. And so he comes in and they talk about how the date went wrong. And bro just tells him, man, like, just be a regular person. He was like, maybe that's what your life is meant to be. Um, and see, I, I can't even be mad when people give that type of advice to people because that is their story. But people got to step outside themselves a little bit and recognize everybody's story ain't your story. This person might have a more powerful story than yours. And so he's bummed out, but he goes back to work the next day. They never really explain how this guy even has papers to be able to get a job or anything. He's just there. And I thought when I was watching the movie, it may be a cool idea to do like a little animated or a live action little mini series on one of these streaming sites to tell the story about what happened to him when he came to Earth as a kid all the way up in those 15 years. They could create a cool and funny story that kind of puts you in the same world of what we just watched, maybe without all the fantastical stuff, but just a cool little funny story. It could be really, really dope. But anyway, so the story continues. He goes back to work. He's basically on the brink of getting fired because he keeps researching swords. And he's also been putting out like I don't know, Craigslist or one of these little things for somebody to help him find the sword that's fell on Earth. And one of the people finally respond to tell him where the sword is. So he goes, like right when he's about to get fired, he finds out that somebody knows it. And so he just runs out of his job, F that job. Job wasn't crap anyway. How you going? he said, bro, you creeping people out. There's a little funny part where he looks over when his coworkers looks at him and then hides because he keeps researching swords. She finds the swords on his desk while he fell asleep, and he wakes up and tries to hide it, but she tells him to stop researching it or he's fired. And he goes, oh, is this an ultimatum? And she's like, yes. So, but yeah, so just a nice little light humor throughout this movie. And so he goes to a shop, he finds the sword. They're using it like on some type of like it's like a comic book store or like a store with toys and collectibles of comic book characters and stuff like that. And they're using the sword with some little statue holding it up. And there's even a funny scene when he goes in the store. He just keeps asking everybody in the store who the guy is. Like, it's just things about this guy that let you know he is not from Earth, because he does things in this world that I guess most humans probably wouldn't do because of the way it will make them look. And so anyway, he goes in. The guy finally gets him and is like, yo, you just gonna ask everybody in the store? So then he tells him where the sword is, and then he dips out, and then it takes him forever. It's kind of embarrassing. They even tape him getting the sword out the statue. And so once he finally gets it out, he just runs out the store. And the woman is like, hey, are you single? And so it was kind of funny. But he continues, he goes back home with the sword, gets in his bed, and of course the next day I think the cops show up to because he stole a sword, and they take him in custody. He's in the back of the cop car, they got the sword in the front, and some big beast comes out of nowhere, jumps onto the cop car, starts destroying it. And him and the sword get out, this whole action thing. And right as the beast is about to like mess him up, a girl shows up, strong, powerful, and clearly I mean, it's pretty obvious this is the girl that was his best friend and AKA his love interest of the whole story. She shows up, fights this big beast thing. They fight. She gets the best of him. Um, you know, at first, when she shows up, he, if I, if I could remember correctly, I don't. One of them recognized each other first. I can't remember who it was that recognized who first. Um, he might have recognized her first, and then once he, or it might have been I can't remember who recognized each other first. But once one the other recognized the other, um, he was like, "Yo, this guy's trying to get me," and then he's like, "He's not trying to get you. He's trying to get the sword." That's what she tells him, and so you know, they work together to get the sword and escape. Um, they get in her ship and they take off. The monster tries to go after them, but they get away. And the movie continues. Um, they take off in the ship and they go back to their home, the hometown of where what's his name is. There is a funny part where he first gets the ship and he tells the sword to take him home and it just doesn't, and he just runs out the store. And so, but anyway, so they're in the ship, they go back home. Once they get back home, oh, that's the new Evil Dead. Burn. Not sure if I want to see that yet. So, but anyway, so they go back to the hometown. She tells him, "Hey, look, this ain't quite how you remembered it, so brace yourself." My head, I'm like, there's no way after his father got captured by Skeletor and all this other stuff happened, and these are the last things he see. The warrior he looks up to is defeated. Idris Elba, like, there's no way you think you coming back and it's gonna be anywhere near like it is. I'd be a little bit nervous about coming back to a place like this. But anyway, so he's grown now and he's bigger, has a good physical feat, but he's still mentally, I guess, the same kid that he was before. I thought at a certain point in the movie, they were gonna show like, I don't know, him growing up and gaining this courage and this strength. Um, But I just kept thinking that was like in the back of my mind as I'm watching the movie. But when they go back to the Earth, she introduces him to all the old warriors. They're all kind of hiding out as rebels against Skeletor. Skeletor knows the sword is out there and he is trying to find it. Um, and so she tells him that this is the son of the king and the heir to this sword, and he's the chosen one. But they don't believe him. They don't even remember him. He looks a lot different because he's bigger and stronger now. And so he remembers all of them. He has drawings of them. He even gives them little funny names like Ram Man and what was the other guy? Fist Up or something? Because he fists people. But yeah, it was just really, really fun. That was a funny scene. Ram Man, because you're a man and you ram things. Fist Up or whatever his name is, because you fist people. He's like, I do not fist people. Like, I seen you do it once. It's just kind of funny. And so funny banter throughout the movie, just keeping you entertained in these scenes where it's not a lot of action. And so, you know, they all the people, they end up locking up He-Man and the girl just because of, like, he gives them names they don't like and they don't believe him. They lock them up and take the sword and start to inspect the sword. And they're like, it looks just like the sword. And it's like, it's a lot smaller than I thought. And so they take the sword and they 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 take the sword and they throw him in lockup, and there's a robot in there and some drunk homeless guy laying on the floor that smells really really bad. And so they go in there and have a moment where they talk, and the guy remembers the robot. He said, man, you guys used to be like an army of 15 men, and the robot says 20. And so, she keeps talking like, why are you talking to the help? Because like this robot cleans up and stuff now. I was like, damn, bro, y'all got one of y'all most powerful warriors just cleaning up. Like this dude has the power of 15, 20 men. It's crazy. So, but anyway, um, the robot, they tell the robot to come with them on this adventure, and the robot busts through the wall, showing immediately that it's powerful enough and that can be very useful in the journey to save the land, and get the sword back. And but right before they go, the little girl wakes up the homeless guy and says, this is my father. And I'm like, wait, Idris Elba? Because they didn't show his face. He's just kind of laying on the floor drunk and smelling pissy. And so they wake him up. He-Man has a little moment where he's like, yo, remember I used to really look up to you? And he throws up, clearly losing that battle to, because he was like the Secretary of Defense, Idris Elba's character, and he lost to the number 2 of Skeletor, that green face dude. So it like killed him, his confidence so much, and depleted him that he just gave up on life and became a drunk, homeless version of that in the He-Man world. So, but anyway, they all break out. They get him to come along because at first he doesn't want to, but somehow they get him to come along. The daughter, whatever, they get him out of there. Actually, I think the robot ends up carrying him out of there. So, and so, the robot carries him on out of there, and then he basically, um, the robot carries him out of there. They get out of there. They get the sword back, and he puts it back on his back. Mind you, he's dressed like a civilian. He's got on like a dress shirt. He's dressed like in his work clothes, like a kind of a nice looking red dress shirt, some pants. Everybody else is dressed like warriors of whatever temple they're in. And so they break out, and he goes in, and he has a moment where he has to face off with the number 2 guy, the green guy, and all his men, they draw on him. He walks out. I think he tries to have a talk with them. And yeah, he tries this throughout the movie. Clearly, this is something he's learned in clearly this is something he learned in America. Because he comes out and he tries to have a talk with them. And this is like a warrior land of just pure war. And so he comes out and he tries to have a talk with them, and it doesn't go well. The green guy immediately starts to he's about to just beam him, blasting at him. And so in the middle of the fight, I'm thinking I think I even said it. I'm like, yo, pull the freaking sword out your back. This dude is finna kill you. And the girl yells it literally right after I say it in the theater. She's like, pull out your sword. So he pulls out his sword, and he starts having these little weird flashes where it's like he can see. As soon as he pulls the sword in his arms, it's like he could see the lady who protected the sword to begin with. And then he says this saying, he's like, yo, the power of, I can't remember the saying. Dang, I always forget the most important stuff when at the right time to say it right here. But anyway, so he says, yo, by the power of whatever, Grayskull, by the power of Grayskull or Graystar, the power is in me. Actually, I think that's kind of it. That's close. And so when he does it, electricity like hits his sword into his body. You just see the clouds, the thunder and the clouds and the smoke, and it just hits him, and then boom, his whole outfit changes. This dude is now ripped, muscular with the He-Man sword. He-Man transforms right before our eyes. He becomes, I guess, a little squinty kind of guy to like a straight superhero right before our eyes. It's kind of like that moment in Aquaman when he like after he meets his mom and he kind of comes out with the thing and he has that very heroic moment. Yeah, it's similar to that. And so yeah. So once he does that, he goes in and he messes Skeletor. He messes not Skeletor, the number two, the green face guy that beat Idris Elba at the beginning. He messes him up. I thought he had killed dude, but I think later on in the movie he comes back, so he's not dead. But he messes him up, and so we get to see this great superhero now. He goes, gets with everybody, and they escape. Um, and so they escape out. I think they hop into a ship and then they escape with, the girl, his love interest. She's flying the ship. She's mad at her father, by the way. She is, because of the man he turned out to be all these years. And she's like this strong warrior chick. And so they fly on out. They take off. They go off into the world, and they go off on this trip. They're being chased down by Skeletor's men because they have the sword that he wants. That's really what Skeletor wants. He wants the kingdom and he wants the power. And he kind of destroyed a lot of the kingdom. It looks terrible when they first get there. But anyway, so they take off, they fly out, they go out, they're being chased by the men. He-Man is there now with these newfound powers that he's just now discovering and realizing that he can do all these amazing things. So he's just learning them in real time as he's going through the motions and fighting people and stuff. And so he kind of gets separated from the ship, and we get to see all this action. I kind of went to the restroom for a minute, so I'm not exactly sure about the transition between the scene between him taking out the guy and them getting in the ship and escape. I'm not sure, but I just remember when I got back, he was like flying the ship or something, and he didn't know how to do it at first. He kind of like crashed backwards and forward. I guess somehow he got separated and flew his own ship, and they were in a whole nother bigger ship with all of them in it. But somehow he goes from being in his ship to out of his ship to fighting dudes to beating guys up to like busting through the window of another guy's ship, taking him out, taking his ship, flying it, all this crazy stuff. Idris Elba is there. He's trying to help, but his daughter's like, no, because you're just gonna screw everything up. You've been a screw up all these years. I got this. And so He-Man does his thing. He does. Long story short, he just takes out all the ships, and then there's a crash landing with all of them. He-Man falls to the ground in the woods. Their ship crashes. And then after they crash, now they all have this moment where they talk and kind of, reunite some things. And what's his name? He's drunk and he's trying to have a drink, even though like he puts his old armor back on, because up in this point he just was dressed like a homeless dude. But when he finally finds his old armor, it kind of brings his daughter back to a positive place, to remembering him in a different light, and she's kind of like softening herself to him until he started talking about having a drink. Then that just pisses her off again. And so there's this character thing between them that's important to see. this daddy-daughter moment. Um, then there's a really important talk between Idris Elba and He-Man. And in this conversation, he's just explaining to him that being a man or being, it's not about being tough. It's not about just fighting and doing this and doing that. It's about showing up when you see you need to show up for things. When you see things need to be done, it's about getting up and doing them. And I just thought that was a very powerful conversation that he had with them, because I think when you're young, there's this picture painted of what a man is by society that's toxic and very incorrect. And that's how toxic masculinity gets created. But no, he was like, yo, it's not about fighting or being the toughest person in the world or dominating some other person. It's really about showing up when you need to, when you see things need to be done. It's about showing up. I think this type of conversation needs to be had with all young men who grew up without fathers or bad fathers that didn't teach them the right way. And so it was a very, very great talk he had with them. So it's just about protecting the people you love and showing up when you need to be showed up. And so it's just important to know that it's not all about muscles and being tough. You know what I'm saying? It's about having heart, standing up when you need to, and protecting those that you love. And so, very valuable lesson within the movie that is reinforced throughout the movie within the character and other characters. And so, even as they're standing out in the woods, Skeletor comes up in like a hologram, tall hologram. He's goofy throughout this whole movie. I swear his laugh, everything about him is just goofy. He's a very funny villain. Like, he has his moments where he's laughing and then he's like, all right, let's get back serious. And there's this thing just about him just being evil, just to be evil. Like, he's not, Marvel, The Dark Knight really was probably the beginning of this, where maybe even before that, maybe even the Spider-Man trilogy, where you had villains that had motive that made sense, that they wasn't just villains for the sake of being villains or evil for the sake of being evil. They gave them a more purposeful, villainous plot or purpose in a movie. But this movie returns the form of the fantastical, superhero, supervillain thing that we grew up on, which is a lot of times growing up, these villains didn't have no intelligent or smart reasons, like how in Black Panther, Killmonger had he was just trying to free his people against the oppressed people. That was like his goal. He just had a bad way of going about it. He wanted to just go destroy all the white people when some of them were good. He just wanted to go give all the black people weapons and just destroy all the white people. That isn't a villain type mentality to think. And then you got people like Thanos, who just thought, resources are gonna get a little crazy. The overflow of life. Why don't I just snap half the world so there'll be more resources and things won't be so spread thin. And him even seeing it happen, a planet flourish, he really thought he was genuinely doing the right thing to help humanity and save the world. So this villain Skeletor, he's not all that. He's just evil just to be evil. He just wants more power. There's really no real strong motive on this guy. And this is very valuable when you're dealing with a fantastical world that's not supposed to be dived in such realism, deep meaning like the Dark Knight villains or even Marvel characters I just named. And even some of the Spider-Man villains weren't just evil just to be evil. Some of them had originally good-hearted motives that led them down the wrong path. And I guess that's not quite the same thing, but you know, I guess it's similar. But this Skeletor guy is different. So anyway, Skeletor hops up on the hologram and makes a proposition for He-Man. Tells him to return the sword, and he'll reunite him with his family. Basically saying, hey, your mother and father's still alive. Because I mean, as soon as he got there, I think he asked about him, and they was like, Skeletor got him, and we never seen him again. And so, do what you will with that. Me personally, if I don't see a person die right there in front of me, they're not dead. So I kept thinking the parents might still be alive. Because I thought for sure they were going to kill him at the beginning, and they never did. Skeletor probably held on to him because he thought he might need them down in the future for, to get that sword so he can get more power. But anyway, so He-Man immediately is like, yo, I'm finna go in and face him. And then he's like, yo, you can't give him the sword. And then he's like, I'm not giving him the sword. I'm gonna go defeat him. I'm gonna go kill him. This guy took my parents. Like, I'm not playing around. And so she's like, yo, this is dangerous. Can't just go in there. He's like, I gotta try. And so they all said they're gonna stand with him, all four of them. And then the robot makes a joke. He says, it's like they just want to die all the time. It was just so funny because it was like a very heroic moment where they're like, yo, we riding with you. And then he was like, yo, it's like y'all just want to die all the time. That part was funny. And so that was more than haha funny for me. I laughed. And so, and I'm sure there's other moments I laughed too, but that was just one of the more memorable ones. So anyway, they keep going. They continue out. They go back to the castle, and he goes, follow my lead. He goes to have a talk with them. He says, give me the sword. He said, I'm only giving the sword to Skeletor. So they take everybody else and put them in a prison cell. They trust in him. Even Idris Elba says, go, fight, whatever, fight the good fight strong, whatever he says to him. And then He-Man goes and stands before Skeletor and the little witch lady. That's really his number 2. I guess I want to say the green face guy is like his number 3, because the witch face lady is right by his side. She's been helping him through all his plans. He really needs this sword. He lets her know that everything that he has can be taken from him. This sword will give him the type of power that can never be taken from him. It's that important that he gets this sword. And so he goes there to stand against the Skeletor. And then, we get this great action scene because they have a conversation. He sees his dad with Skeletor standing there, and boom, the battle breaks out. And he's like, I don't play fair, I cheat. And all these guys come out, and we get to see this fire action scene between him and like 4 or 5 guys. They like fighting, boom, 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 with swords. Just really, really dope scenes, like some jump in the air, spin moves, all types of fire action, where him and all these guys go head to head. At one point, they knock him over into the wall. He gets blasted into the wall. And He-Man picks up a guy that's just sitting on the floor, some guy, and just starts swinging him and knocking everybody around. I mean, man, the movie has some really good action. And so, so he basically he beats all the guys in the room, and then now he has to face Skeletor and the witch, and he faces them. And then he faces them, and he ends up beating them. But actually, what he ends up doing, they get to a standstill point, and then he blasts the sword into the wall, and it causes rocks to fall on his dad. He lets up the rock, and him and his dad have a final moment where his dad tells him how much he loved him. And he said, now, I'm more like the guy you wanted me to be. And he's like, I never wanted you to be anybody but yourself. I just wanted you to be strong in this big world because you were so small. And this is a very powerful moment he has with his dad, because I know a lot of fathers and sons have this where these fathers kind of hard on their children to push them to this type of greatness, and sometimes it might pushes them away a little bit. It never happened with them, but he's just learning more and more as this story goes what type of man that he wants to be, the right type of man to be. This story really shapes him, and I just thought it was just very, very powerful. And so anyway, he his dad dies. It's sad. They put him in lockup and take the sword. I think Skeletor just knocks him upside the head and puts him in lockup, and he's back in his regular clothes. They're like, yo, you transform back. He goes back into the cell, and he's kind of down again. And then Idris Elba shows up there for him to have a talk with him. Basically just, trying to give him a pep talk, but he starts off really, really shaky because he don't even know how to talk about feelings or anything like that. And they have a good little talk, and the talk, Idris Elba doesn't give him the words he needs, but him being there reinforces the words that he used to give him when he was a kid, because He-Man remembers when he was a kid, and he remembers him telling him, it's not about how you get knocked down, it's about how you get back up and stand tall against, whatever knocked you back down. And that did happen at the beginning of the movie with him and his dad. He told him to stand up and look at his dad after he knocked him down. That was a very, very important and powerful scene. And Idris Elba is like, maybe we both can try to get back up in this moment. It's like, I love that. I love that. It was he didn't try to like act like he wasn't down or act like he had the words to say. He really didn't. He was a broken man still trying to get himself back up. So he was like, yo, we can get back up together. And then after that, He-Man has this dope speech with all of his men in the prison about them teaming up together and him leading them to taking down Skeletor and getting everything back and winning this whole war. It's a really great pep talk, and it has some very funny moments in it as well that I remember laughing at. And so they all band together to bust out of the prison cell. They bust out. And then they go and we see this dope action scene where some of their warriors get to put in work, knock all the guys down, and then they take the ships from the Skeletor people that probably, I don't know if it was originally their ships or Skeletor. They take them and they fly in and go to war with Skeletor's people. He-Man goes in with his girl. It was just Elba, and they all fight. And the robot guy, the robot guy's still there. This is something I forgot to mention. The Idris Elba finally puts in the chip that he's been holding this whole time to get the robot guy back into like war mode, because he got programmed to just be a help droid because he tried to kill Idris Elba at one point. Have no clue about that story. We don't know how he got like that, but he reinforces, please don't kill me. He reinforces that. And then when he puts the chip in him, he said, I make no promises. All right, so He-Man continues, him and his girl, the love interest, they both go into the castle to face Skeletor and the witch. Idris Elba's character stays out to give his best bet. They have a little embracing moment before that's comical as well, where him and his daughter, you know what I'm saying, they get back to loving and embrace each other, because you never know if they might even live through this. So they have a good talk that's super important, and they hug it out. And then He-Man comes over and messes up the moment by hugging them too, which is funny. And so after that, they go ahead in to fight the witch, and we get some really great action in this scene. By the way, like he goes in, he's not He-Man. He don't even have the sword. Skeletor has the sword. I forgot to mention this part. There is a part somewhere in between where they're breaking out of the cell where Skeletor gets the sword and he goes up in, he puts his hands up in the air and says the same saying that He-Man says, and he doesn't get the powers. And you know why that is? Because he's not the chosen one, man. And he grabs the witch by the neck and she promises him, and I wouldn't have done this, but she promises him it will work. If they go back into the room, she has to do a spell. And so they go back to this castle, this room to do this spell. And that's where He-Man and them come in and they fight. And He-Man gets the sword, but he doesn't have time to really just become He-Man because he's in the middle of battling Skeletor. So him and Skeletor, they battle, they fight, and Skeletor is like blasting him with his staff. And when he does that, he's holding it to protect himself, and he destroys the sword. And after he destroys the sword, He-Man falls on the floor, and Skeletor comes over and goes, well, looks like this sword ain't even as powerful as he thought it was, and all this other stuff. Then he grabs into his head and jumps into his memories, and he pops up at random memories. And there's some humor in this scene as well, where he pops up in his mind for memories and all that. There's definitely some humor. They go through his memories where he just kind of torments him. And then it really ends with him putting a sword through his chest. And, you're like, dang, the rest of the sword, because he didn't fully break the sword, the bottom of it, he sticks it into his chest. And in his memories, I think this is memories, yeah, he has a conversation with his roommate, and his roommate is there, and he's like, yo, bro, you all right? He's like, I'm dying, I'm dead. He's like, damn, that sucks to die like this. And then he's like, man, and it's even more inconvenient to die right before rent is due. He's like, it's okay, I'll figure it out. It's just kind of funny. And then in his mind, the bird shows up and the woman is there, and she lets him know, like, yo, the power is not just in the sword. She was like, what is it that you say? And then she reminds him that he says the power is within me after he says the grayscale thing. And so that's when he realizes he has the power. Now this moment felt so familiar. I knew exactly where it took me to. It reminds me of in the Matrix when Neo is killed in the very first Matrix, he's killed by Agent Smith, and then he realizes he's the one, he comes back and all this stuff. That's exactly what this scene reminded me of. Pretty sure there had to be some inspiration there. This is a scene that is done quite a bit. It is what is it called? A movie trope. It's a movie trope. So, but yeah. So, in that, he comes back to life, pulls the sword out of his chest, makes the sword back whole, becomes He-Man again, doesn't even use the sword, and he does this like super boxing thing where he's like uppercutting and beating the mess out of Skeletor, bro. This scene is so fire. Beating the mess out of Skeletor, just knocking him upside down. Then Skeletor looks at him, goes, that's all you got? He says, I was holding my punches. Then he really starts knocking the mess out of Skeletor. Actually, before that scene even happens, he tries to have like a talk with Skeletor. Like he always tries to do the right thing. Instead of just being violent. When he first wakes back up, he tries to tell Skeletor, like, bro, he was like, look, man, how about we come to an agreement where we can make things work? And Skeletor was like, nigga, I'm just evil. F all that stuff you talking about. I'm ready for war. He laughs, does the evil laugh. By the way, the person that voiced Skeletor bodied this role. He was great. I think in the end credits I saw it was Jared Leto, and man, Jared Leto, even though he's super hated, he did an excellent job as Skeletor. I mean, man, I never watched the original, but this has to be spot on him. Like, man, I think I've seen memes of him laughing and stuff that they've made. But anyway, Jared Leto bodied this voice of Skeletor. He did. Very entertaining. The whole movie, I was trying to figure out, is it the dude who played Agent Smith? Because he seemed like he would be perfect for that. I mean, he kind of played a version of him when he played the Captain America villain. And the first Captain America, he was the main villain in that movie. And then when they brought him back in Infinity War as like the keeper or whatever he was, the creeper of the Soul Stone or whatever stone that was, uh, he kind of was a similar version of this character. But anyway, his voice would have been perfect, but Jerry Leto did his thing, so we're not even gonna argue that. So anyway, he ends up beating the mess out of him, knocking fire from him, messing him up. I mean, he hit him so hard that he just destroys all his body to where he's just down to a skull. And the robot ends up dying in battle. The green guy shows up, he shoots him up and destroys him. And then Idris Elba gets in the ship and reprises himself for the beginning of the movie, gets to revamp himself, and he beats the mess out of that green dude, the number 3 to Skeletor in the ship, beats him, leaves a bomb on him, and jump out the ship for the ship to blow up and crash down. And the good guys win. Even the girl, she beat the sorcerer to some degree. She didn't kill her. The sorcerer has powers, and she's just using a spear, but she does win the fight. And the sorcerer just runs off once she sees Skeletor being beaten. And so it's pretty much the end of the story. You know what I'm saying? There's a moment where they're standing there, the Idris Elba, He-Man, and they ask him what is the name that he has for her. And then he tells her the name, and it's like Goddess something. And then she asks him, "What's your name?" And he says, He-Man. And they like start laughing, and they're like, "Oh yeah," they lying to him. It's a good name. He's like, "What does that even mean?" He's like, He-Man, like a powerful man, like the ultimate powerful He-Man. And so it was just really, really funny. Obviously, these are all the names of the characters, but the way they do it from like the kid perspective of how he gave them their name was really, really dope, by the way. That is a really good movie. So the movie ends. We have two after the credit scenes in this movie. I'm not even gonna get into those. I'm gonna save that little mystique because you guys need to go see this movie in theaters. Stay behind for 2 end credit scenes. Be sure to stay behind and watch it. Trust me, they're worth seeing. Yeah. So, that's the end of the movie. I'm gonna give this movie 4 out of 5 popcorn bucket score. It was a really, really good movie. Easily could be in the top 5, maybe even the top 10 of the year. I have to sit down and really put a list together of what's the best movies of the year in what order for me. And I will be giving you guys my top 5, top 10 movies of the year with honorable mentions towards the end of the year. I'm gonna try to wait and make sure I get all the movies within the year. So if I have to deliver it in January, I will. But yeah. So He-Man definitely one of the best movies I've seen this year. They knocked this out the park on some superhero type stuff. You like superhero, Conan the Barbarian, He-Man, Master of the Universe is for you, man. Trust me, this is a really good movie. If you don't like fantastical type movie with comedy, action, you might think it's corny. So each his own. But I think a great majority of comic book lovers of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and even some of the DCU, when they did a good job, You will really enjoy Masters of the Universe. This is a good movie. I highly recommend you go see this in theaters. It's good to see that the theaters is back. People are coming to see movies now. Continue doing that. I seen somebody ask, are they making good movies now? They've been always making good movies. It's just people was just never coming to see these stuff. So it's good to see that people are getting their butts in the seats and coming to see movies. We got to keep the movie theater alive. This experience is one that we can never erase. Like it's nothing like coming up here and enjoying a good movie. But anyway, man, that's my time. This is the real review. I'm your boy Warbucks, man. And go see Master of the Universe. Go see it in theaters, man. Your boy, I'm just a guy that just like to talk about film. And I got some more stuff coming for you guys. So stay tuned. We're gonna get into some TV shows. We're gonna get into a lot of stuff in the future. So please stay tuned. Like, subscribe, comment to the real review. It's your boy Warbucks, man. And as I like to say, I am out.